Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to Matt Chat. Well, I have a response I want to give to a comment I got, weeks ago on my Clone Wars observation video. I did my observation. I rewatched all the Clone Wars, I believe, and I gave my observations on them. And I as you know, I'm not a big fan of it. Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, 50% of it was fantastic gold, and the other 50% was just teetotal garbage. And so someone tried to take me to task over that, because obviously he's a big Clone Wars fan. He started talking about how I was so wrong, and he started listing off all these things. And it was so funny because the key word in that title is Clone Wars observations. I'm going off from what I see and how I interpret it. This guy is going off just bland speculation, not even observation. And here's an example. And one of the things I didn't like about the Clone Wars is that Darth Maul and Savage, I mean, take forever, a big battle with the Emperor, you know, and Emperor's having trouble defeating both of them. And I said, that's ridiculous, because here's Maul, who never made it past Apprentice, by the way. And the guy's saying, oh, look at all Maul's accomplishments. He did this. He took out Black Sun. He did this. Yeah, he went on a lot of successful missions, but if you remember, the whole arc of that is that he's not ready yet. Sidious keeps reminding him he's not good, and he actually does fail in one of those missions too, and Sidious has to do this. You failed, you know, you did not perform up to my standards. And if you remember in episode 1 of the novel, he's finally giving Maul his true first test. So he hasn't elevated from that mark of apprentice. And he said, well, he referred to him as Lord Maul. Well, then, kind of sarcastically too. But he's never really fully matured from there. And he said, well, he got cut in half and lived. Yeah, so he's half the man he was. I mean, Darth Vader, when he became more machine than man, was he more powerful? No. It made him actually weaker, confined to an apparatus to where he couldn't even breathe. So to say that the handicap is, you know, his biggest strength is like, that's kind of weird. But get this. One of the things he says, I shouldn't laugh. One of the things he says is that he said, Sidious thought lightsabers were so uncivilized, which is actually a quote Obi-Wan gave in the movie, not Lord Sidious. He said it was so beneath him that he would use them to taunt his enemies. How can it be so beneath him that he would use it to taunt? You know what? I don't really care for your piddly little lightsabers, but here, I will taunt you with it. Ha! No, if you actually read Matthew Stover's episode 3, he is very skilled with the lightsaber. He is very skilled. Mace Windu, while he's fighting him, I mean, he took out 3 Jedi, and this is my problem. He took out 3 Jedi Masters who, despite what little missions Maul had went on, these Jedi Masters had done amazing things. They'd made it to the Council. I mean, they were the cream of the crop. And Sidious took him out in 5 seconds, right? All 3 of them. The only reason Mace Windu survived is because he is the master swordsman, right? He knows the Vapad, I'm saying that wrong, but whatever, the strategy where he can do everything. But even Mace Windu, you can see it on his face in the movie. He's like, wow, this dude is really good, better than I thought he was. And Matthew Stover points that out, where Mace Windu's like, dang, I am giving this guy everything I can, and he is taking it, man. He is defending everything. Now, eventually, Mace does get the upper hand because he is the master swordsman, but still, Sidious is so powerful, you know, he can actually win without the lightsaber. So he doesn't need a lightsaber, that's for sure, but to say he thinks they're so uncivilized, that's never been revealed. In fact, he's very skilled in one. I don't think he thinks it's uncivilized at all. Like I said, Obi-Wan thinks blasters are uncivilized. That's maybe the quote he's thinking about. I don't know, kind of switching it around. Anyway, here's the point. The point is, don't speculate, okay? You're making up things. Now, if you were to come at me and you were to say, well, Matt, that's your observation. Here's how I see it. And a lot of you have said this when I talk about other books and comic books, like, well, Matt, I kind of like this because I see it this way. And I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. And sometimes some of you make a good point. It's like, well, okay, if you could see it that way, I can see that. But when you're trying to make up facts, I guess he knows Palpatine. Maybe he knows the real Palpatine, and that's what he's going off of. But this is baseless speculation. If you like the Clone Wars, that's fine, but don't come back at me with baseless, unproven facts, just things that you've just imagined. Say, well, this is actually how Palpatine thought during the whole thing. Really? How do you know? You can disagree with you and say, well, Matt, I kind of saw it this way, and that's totally fine. But when you're making up things to try to argue, there's no point in responding to it, except you get in the video. All right, folks, that's it for now. See you next time with another Matt Chat.